Hello and welcome. Today I am going to be doing a sketchbook tour. I started this particular sketchbook towards the end of last year, and it has a lot of my little doodles and sketches and just all-around creativity that I've produced in that amount of time. I'm pretty much done, although I might just add or subtract a few things as I go along. But it is full and I've reached the last page at this present moment. So I thought it'd be cool to do a little sketchbook tour. If you want to see more of my drawings and paintings, you can follow me at honesty art or honesty_art on Instagram. So let's get started. All right, so I will just explain a few things as I go along, what each item was, but it's good to know, or good for you guys to know, that I just love to draw, and I love to draw on a regular basis. So anytime I feel like drawing, I draw in the sketchbook, or I draw on a separate piece of paper and paste them into this book. So it'll be a real mishmash of various things that I've placed in it over time. On the left-hand side here, you can see a bit of a portrait. This was actually a page or cover that I was using for leftover paint. Every time I had leftover paint, I would just paint onto this, and I even used some sandpaper on it at one point, but it kind of evolved each time I opened up the book or was finishing up a painting and such. On the right-hand side here, you can see some studies. I was painting a fox commission for somebody, and I had to study the skull and really just get familiar with the fox. You can see a continuation of it there. Here I've added in a little mask doodle that I thought just went along with it. I was in the mood to draw. On the left here you can see a couple of warm-up sketches and also a little sketch I'd done of Chun-Li using a highlighter and a marker pen. I really love the Street Fighter series and always have. I owe a lot of my artistic creativity and interest in art to Street Fighter and Capcom. On this side, I had been watching some anime, so I thought it'd be cool to just draw a little anime head. Here you can see a little T-Rex study I did with a fine liner pen. I actually tattooed this particular design onto a client, and I needed to just get familiar with the actual shading and such of the T-Rex. So that was done with hand poke eventually as a tattoo. But as I say, I had to just get familiar with the design before doing that. This is just a little portrait experiment. I love portraiture quite a bit. Another Chun-Li sketch. Here I was playing with the character design, possibly something Aztec or Native American inspired, with a bird-like mask on the figure. Just having fun there. I really love character design. Another Chun-Li sketch and also another character design. I think I'd like to revisit this at some point, possibly in a painting or another drawing. You're going to see a lot of this throughout. I really love paper, especially paper that has paint on it. Has an abstract quality to it. Reminds me of abstract art, I suppose. Also a bit of graffiti art. So you'll see a lot of this stuck in. And then also this kind of style of doodle. I really love this kind of messy marker style doodle. I'm a child of the 90s and the 2000s, so I love graffiti and that kind of aesthetic. Lots of warm-up sketches and doodles around here, practicing eyes and more figures and, well, portraits here, but more characters. Lots of heads. In particular, I think it's quite difficult. I don't know if it's just me, but I find it quite difficult to capture female faces, so I often practice them quite a bit. Here you can see some more marker and ink experimentation, marker characters. Revisiting that. I kind of like this. It's very busy, but there's something about the aesthetic that I really dig. More of that kind of messy street style. Here you can see it again, practicing more heads. This particular figure here, this was a style I came up with in about 2005 or so, and I've really enjoyed it, so you will see that reoccurring as we go along. I personally take a lot of inspiration from video games and comics. It's been a huge influence for me. I still play lots of video games to this day, and often when I'm inspired by the video game, I'll end up drawing, especially characters like this, where it'll be action-oriented characters. So that's the same character as the previous page, just in a different outfit. And here we have more of this kind of messy, pasted in images. I still really love this. I don't know where it's going to head just yet, but I definitely want to do something with that style. Very much inspired by people like Ashley Wood. He's a really cool artist. Also Jim Mahfood. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing his name. But Ashley Wood and Jim Mahfood are really cool artists that are worth checking out. This head I like. It's just made from a messy paint blob. I definitely want to revisit that as well. Maybe put it on a samurai body or something along those lines. Just experimenting here with smudging and erasing. Here too, I was doing some character designs and trying to be really loose with it. This is a character you'll see later on. It's from a painting series called Lucid. I'll probably chat about that in the future. This particular sketch is quite typical of my style. I love doing these kind of hard brows and lazy eyes, often zombie inspired. I went through a big phase of drawing these characters, working with thick markers as well as thin fine liners. Also these robotic characters I love drawing. Here I was practicing with some fine liner, just working with a few kind of creatures from a different world. I really want to get into world building. If you guys have any tips and tricks for world building, or if you build your own worlds, please drop a comment. If you have a page with sketches and such that you want me to check out, please do share. This is a character inspired by Heihachi Mishima. Perhaps it is Heihachi Mishima from the Tekken series. I was just practicing some things there. This is quite typical of the robots that I draw. They always have this kind of heavy frown and round eyes. I'd love to make a comic with them eventually. I draw them often and I do enjoy them quite a bit. So apart from very comic-oriented, sketchy stuff, I do enjoy doing portraiture as well. Classical portraiture. I went through a big phase. Well, I kind of do on several occasions go through phases where I often draw academic style portraiture. I think that it's a good idea to always practice fundamentals and practice your basics and then freestyle later. That's kind of one of my modus operandis, or my own personal motto. Just practice the fundamentals and then freestyle thereafter. There you can see more portraiture. I was obviously in that kind of mood. This kind of character I drew in a separate little sketch pad and then cut it out and placed it in here. I thought it went nicely with this kind of abstract paint at the back. And this is literally taken from drop sheets that I use while I'm painting. There's something I really enjoy about those. This came from a demo. I was showing a class how to paint an apple very quickly, probably like a 2 or 3 minute paint sketch. You'll see a lot of fish in my work. I really love the idea of fish, especially large fish and fish inspired by the Arapaima fish as well as catfish. Here you can see some more characters. I'm a big fan of quite dark characters, especially sci-fi and futuristic characters, so there's quite a bit that'll come through. Another paint demo, another fish character. This is actually a character I wanted to pursue. I'll still work on it at a later stage. And that's the beauty about sketch pads, is that they become like this awesome way to keep ideas, and when you are short of ideas, you can always come back to them. Another sketch here, just an academic kind of portrait sketch. have made a video of it, but it was on another channel, time-lapsing that. There's the character returning, but as I say, sketchbooks become a great place to pull ideas from, because you'll have an idea, forget about it, and at a later stage you can always come back. And I have many sketchbooks at home, quite a library of them. If you have sketchbooks, I'm sure you know how valuable they are to you, and it's something you really want to create a collection of. Another character that I pulled from one of my smaller sketch pads. I just want to talk momentarily about that, sketching and keeping sketchbooks. I believe that we should be sketching as regularly as possible, even if that's just for 2 minutes, because sometimes that 2 minutes turns into 2 hours, but just keeping that daily practice, if possible, is really a good way to go. Obviously, intentionally trying to improve will help you, but regular practice really keeps you sharp. This is a practice that I suggest to almost anybody who is an artist. Just take a basic shape, outline it, and add a descriptive word. Here I've put detective, horror, and drama, and I just try to create little images that kind of encapsulated that. I found that my art was often, well, at times missing stories. The pieces that I find to be not as successful were missing a bit of storyline, so I've tried to make that process a little bit more intentional. Another one of those kind of street style markers. Here I was practicing with an image I had seen on Pinterest. I can't remember the character's name, but it definitely has that kind of modesty blaze aesthetic. I'd still love to one day go through Marvel's book of how to draw the Marvel way and follow all of their instructions and just actually learn that particular school of inking. Not necessarily to actively do it to maintain my style, but just to, upskill and practice some of their techniques. I think there'd be something I'd learn. I like this character quite a bit. Also another one I want to come back to. Just playing around here. I will always get in the mood to draw some more figures and heads in different styles, and on occasion they really speak to me and I'll pursue them in a further painting or artwork. So Lucid was the name of an exhibition I had about 2 years ago. It is documented on my Instagram page, so if you want to see that, you can check that out. Lucid was about a dream world that had a set of characters in it that you could meet. I like lucid dreaming, so the name seemed appropriate. This is an example of one of the characters. She lives in water and she kind of collects artifacts from various people who are passing by, or in the event that they try to attack her, she will attack them back, defend her ground, and take whatever they had. So her outfit would have lots of different things on it. This was another character I'd called her Sherpa, and she would help you find your way around in the dream world, but she couldn't give you information without kind of being questioned first, and she'd often answer in questions. Just experimenting here with some details on this particular character. He was also part of the Lucid series. And you can see the reoccurring fish coming along. Close-up of Sherpa there. I hope I'm not going through too fast, but this is a whole sketchbook, so I didn't want to spend too much time on any one item. There, nice little action pose. Looks a bit like Pop Bot by Ashley Wood. I'll definitely give credit to him for the inspiration there. This character from earlier, just experimenting. I'm not a huge fan of that face though. I did try to fix it, but it's not quite there yet. Once again, a bit of fundamental practice. I had about 20 minutes one day after work and just sketched out this portrait. Once again, taking blocks and trying to fold them. Here I've got a fantasy character, Viking character. I'd be interested to know if you guys are artists, if you draw, if you keep your own sketchbooks. If you have your own sketchbook tours on your own pages, please do mention it down below. I'd love to kind of meet you guys where you're at. I'd check out your Instagram pages, share your Instagram handles down below. I'd really love to see the art that you guys are making. Or let me know if you want to become an artist and are watching sketchbook tours for inspiration. I'd like to connect with the community, as it were. Little painting I did of Wolverine. I was just trying out some new shapes and to give him a different costume. I really like this character. I went through a phase where I was trying to, really give a lot of texture to hair and a lot of volume and weight, and in this particular case, I like how that came out. Some more experimentation. This is a fun way to go. Definitely something that a lot of animators do is where they work with a color pencil, especially blue color pencil, and then ink it on top. Just helps to give you a lot of basic shapes beforehand. I like this character. Also one I want to pursue in future. I just feel like she, captures a bit of a early 20s so-and-so, possibly living in an apartment, working a small job somewhere, and has room for story. To go back to video games, I really love select screens. I think the kinds of images that you have in a select screen are important because they help you to choose a character, especially if it's the first time you're playing a game. It creates intrigue. And so I sometimes use the select screen format as a way to come up with ideas. You can see more of that here. So I can take these and do further drawings from these. These are silhouettes. These are literally just kind of scratch out as I go along and see what shapes they make, but a wonderful way to come up with ideas. There's a lot of people online who do this digitally and have tutorials on how to do that. So if you're looking for ideas, I would suggest you try it out. This image is also quite typical of my style. I did this one day. We have drawing club where I teach, and this was what I drew on that day, just with some markers and such. Probably took me about 5 or 10 minutes just sketching it out. A lot more of these blocks that I like to do. Really makes drawing on a blank page less intimidating. Here I was kind of inspired by people like Frank Frazetta and Simon Bisley. I was watching some documentaries on them and wanted to do some buff characters, but very loosely. This is taken from my mini sketch pad. I really like this piece. It's got a bit of character to it. Here's another experimentation with some very loose figure sketching and more. Going back to some fundamentals, just practicing. I must admit, I do a lot of pencil work, but I feel like I'm a lot stronger with painting. But as a result, I practice a lot of pencil because I want to get really strong with the pencil on paper, but I also understand that it has its limitations and I need to accept that. But it's definitely something that I work at a lot. Painting comes a bit more naturally to me because it allows you to make mistakes and fix them, and that's really helpful. Pencil is a little bit more direct and it can get very smudgy very quickly, so it's a little bit less forgiving at times. I do enjoy it though, but I do find it a little bit more difficult, and that just makes me want to tackle it more and more. Here's a lot more characters, and as I can see over the progression, I'm getting a bit better with the compositions and telling stories. Nowhere near where I want to be eventually, but I can see a bit of progress. I spent a lot of time in this particular book, so all that practice was helpful. I write in my books a lot. I find that I have ideas often that I want to just throw down, and capturing it with writing is quite important. Sometimes I email myself little messages and such with ideas that I want to try and capture. Here I was experimenting with a very smudgy style. Always a bit fearful to go the smudgy route. Often in art school, they kind of get you to avoid that. But I wanted to try a bit of a hazy appearance, and it was a good experiment, I believe. This piece here, I think, was a little bit more successful. It's captured almost like a hazy, dreamy look to it. And yeah, it was worth the experimentation, and I'll see how I can adapt that in future. Here you can see a lot more characters, and once again using the block format and using little adjectives. Here the adjective, well, this isn't even, I don't know if that counts as an adjective, but the word is done. Noticed standing there, so she's noticing something standing there. This is lips pointing, which is quite funny. Yeah, I've put Afro chunk, I think it was. So really trying to play with words and just come up with some compositions and such. So this is quite different to the rest. Fairly recently, I had a bit of vacation or holiday time, so I got to sit at my kitchen table and do a couple of paintings. And these take me anywhere between about 30 minutes to about an hour and a half. This was on a much larger piece of canvas paper that I painted this. Initially, when I painted this, the portrait didn't have sunglasses, but there was something about the eyes that just wasn't working for me, so I decided to put on some glasses, and I'm happy for it. She kind of reminds me of, I believe it was, is it Beatrice from Kill Bill? So I'm happy about that. This is just abstracting an image I'd seen, a photograph on Pinterest. I was trying a very loose style. In this particular case, I want to get rid of that eye. I feel like the eye is not doing this picture any favors. I want to maybe make it white, just to give it a bit of a darker appeal. This is Ripley from Alien. Hopefully you could recognize that if you've seen it. I'm not absolutely certain, but judging from the hair, I think this is Alien 2. I'd found a couple of film stills online and decided to do a painting with this. And it was one of the first ones I'd done during the vacation, and I'm kind of happy with how it came out. I really love the glow that's on the side there, and yeah, I was happy with this piece, and I love the Alien series, so for me it worked. This was just a little portrait practice. Once again, found a online reference and just very quickly painted this. I was experimenting with working from the outside very loose, and then eventually getting slightly tighter at the focal point. And yeah, as I say, I really like this piece. I think I'd like to make a larger set of artworks, not this particular subject. Perhaps I'll take my own photograph for the subject matter, but definitely want to explore this in a larger painting. And here we are at the end of the book with possibly two of my favorite pieces I've made recently. So you can actually see how the development of the drawing from the end of last year worked into these paintings. I've done other commissions and such, and other canvas paintings that are obviously not in here, but just developing my style, putting a bit more time into the sketches has resulted in the last few pages of these paintings. This one I'm quite fond of. It's a direction I want to pursue. Just started working with, painting figures and then adding various monsters on them as if it's their armor. Definitely a concept I enjoy. This is a dark character. Not everybody's cup of tea, but I love horror movies, especially stuff from the 80s and sci-fi as well. I'm a big fan of sci-fi and horror, so this type of character works well. I thought of this as somewhat of a vampire-like character whose hair is very much in her face, with these piercing eyes and these kind of little gloopy monsters that float around her and do her bidding. So I really liked this particular character quite a bit, and probably going to pursue this character as well along the way. But that is essentially my sketchbook. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching. I would like to make a few more in future. So if you are interested in seeing more sketchbook tours, let me know. If you'd like to see me draw any of these particular images or talk about some of my techniques, please let me know in the comments. I'd be more than happy to. And as I say, please do share your Instagram handles down below. Mine is Honesty Art. If you have links to other online portfolios as well, share it. I'd love to check it out, and I'd love to hear any and all feedback from you guys. Thanks for watching, and that's my sketchbook tour. Cheers.